Dads of Reddit, what is your best don't tell your mother moment with your kid? I'm not a dad, but one time my dad woke my sister and I up after we got tucked into bed and asked us to come downstairs. He gave us both these giant cookies and we all silent ate them at the dining table in the dark. After about 5 minutes he just quietly said, "Don't tell your mother," and we never did. It's one of my favorite memories from when I was a kid. Letting my kid watch Deadpool. He loved every minute of it and hasn't told anyone he watched it. My 9-year-old snuck it and took his 8 and 6-year-old sisters along for the ride. Was probably about 11 when my dad was going to do some touch-up painting on part of the house. He buys the paint. I get up on the ladder with him. He points at where to start and we begin. About 3x4 feet into painting, I look at dad and say, "Did you get the right color?" Turns out, I got about a half shade lighter of a dark grey paint than what the house was. He turned pale and a feign of desperation came onto his face. "Don't tell your mom about this." Years later, after the house was sold, you can still drive by the house and see the 3x4 shaded blotch. She never noticed. How about what my dad did? Every summer we went to a family reunion at a giant resort. 3 pools, 2 restaurants, etc. All my cousins there I see once a year, etc. When you're like 10, it's the best couple days of the summer. As we got to be teenagers, it was a little less fun. The kids swam and rode bikes in the parking lot. The adults got shit-faced at the pool, watching the kids and the teenagers. We were chilling in a room, watching some movie. In walks my uncle. Okay, not my dad, but my cousin was in there too, with a cooler. He says, "You boys deserve to have a little fun yourself. Don't tell your moms and don't get sloppy, because if you get caught, I'm playing stupid." Inside was a 24 pack of Bud Light. My brothers and I were playing PS2 when we were young. Our stepmother was very against violent video games. Our dad comes in, pulls out GTA San Andreas, and hands it to us. Don't tell, stepmom. That was awesome. He also pulled us out of school to watch the Blue Angels. When I share my booze. Was talking to a guy at a wedding reception. Guy is maybe 35. We are both pretty hammered and I'm smoking a cigarette to take me down a notch because I get really hyper when I drink. His 4-ish looking year-old son run up to the guy and hugs his leg. Guy asks his son what he wants. Son just laughs. Guy goes, "Here, have some Jack Daniels and then go play with your friends." Kid took the glass and took a sip, handed the glass back and ran off laughing. That wasn't even the craziest funniest thing from that night. The kid I gave it to was 14, not 4. That's pretty crazy. During my wife's second pregnancy she couldn't stand the smell of cooking meat, or cooked meat, or just the sight of knowledge that meat was in the house. It got pretty rough for my oldest son and me for about a month. I'm an avid meat eater, like with every meal 3 times a day, but my lady didn't like it, so I was doing my best. It got to the point where I would bring home cheeseburgers and leave them in my car. I would come in and get my then 6-year-old son and sneak outside. We were standing on the back porch during winter sneaking a quick burger, giggling our butts off. Don't tell your mom, not because she would be angry, but just the thought that I had eaten meat would have made her nauseous. This story is from when I was a kid. I really wanted to watch Beavis and Butthead Do America, but I was too young and that show/movie was banned from our house. However, when my mom left one day to go to the commissary, to my surprise my dad told me he had it and that we could watch it. "Don't tell your mom," he said. It was me, my brother, my sister and my dad. We started it, got about 30 minutes in, and my mom came back way sooner than we thought. She walked in and was obviously furious. I turned to look at my dad and he was gone. A few seconds later, he was leaving his room to see what all the commotion was, pretending as if he'd been in his bedroom the whole time. He joined in with my mom in getting mad at us. Total mad lad. I'm a woman and not a dad. However, my dad is pretty great and covered for me a lot in the past. For some backstory, my mom is a chronic backseat driver and always criticizes my dad's driving and jokes that he's passed off his bad driving skills to the kids. My mom was on a vacation with a couple of my older sisters and I was meant to be taking my driver's license test soon. So he decides we should go for some practice. Since my mom was gone and she had the older car, he decided we should use her vehicle. When pulling into the garage after the drive, young me fucked up, and instead of hitting the brakes I hit the gas. We had a small staircase at the end of the garage that led into the house, and the car smashed right into it. The front bumper completely ripped off of the car. He told me he would fix it as long as I didn't tell mom. Neither of us wanted to deal with her reaction, and I told you so's. When my kid was 4 or 5, I forgot to hang up after a phone call with her mother while we had a daddy-daughter outing. The phone was in my pocket and she listened for over an hour while we went to the park, then to the store and then home. When I checked the phone right before going and I realized the call was still connected and hung up. She was so full of herself, asking what we did, but never fessed up to listening, but was so arrogant and smiley for the rest of the day. Several times after that I would call her when I was out with my daughter and put the phone in my pocket and have all kinds of fun conversations with my daughter, my kid not knowing anything about my game. Of course you can have another ice cream, I would loudly say as my daughter was out of earshot playing in the sandbox. Or let's tell mom they were out of broccoli, a mutually hated vegetable, when grocery shopping. The one that caused her to lose her shit was, don't tell mom that I'm letting you have gum. Gum was a banned treat for our kids. When I got home she confronted us, screaming that we agreed that the kids could not chew gum. We did nothing of the sort. She smugly told me I was butt dialing her when out and about, and she knew everything. I laughed in her face and told her I knew she was listening and would regularly call her knowing she was so devious she would listen in. She refused to believe me, even when I quoted some of my greatest hits. 6-year-old daughter. A few years back, I was driving a 450 HP Mustang with manual transmission 0 to 60 in like 4 seconds. We hit a straight stretch of back road. I look at her and say lean back in your seat. Lean back in your seat. At 450 HP, it not merely a suggestion. You should read up on Carroll Shelby. Yes, that Shelby. One of my favorite anecdotes goes something like this. Shelby believes in true power. To demonstrate, he places a $100 bill on the dashboard and tells a passenger that if they can grab it after he pushes the accelerator pedal, they can keep the bill. A RFAIK, nobody ever got that $100. I'm a dad, but this is from my childhood. We used to live in the country on a gravel/metal road, and my mum had a boyfriend who would go and pick watercress, wild growing vegetables, from the big drains to make boil up. Boil up is a food from New Zealand, pretty much soup. I was around 9 and my brother was 7. He asked us one day if we wanted to come pick some, so we went. We went up the road to the big intersection and he started pulling relentless burnouts, shredding the intersection to pieces, dust everywhere, gravel flying. My brother and I smiling from ear to ear, loving it. Lasted a good couple of minutes. As soon as he stopped, we sat there for 5 seconds in silence and he says, "Let's not tell mum about that, boys." We never did. This is one from my childhood and will forever be my personal favorite story involving my father. It was around Christmas in 1999 and I think it was a weekend. My parents were pretty much done Christmas shopping but were getting things for the family. I was up at friend's house and I had to go home because they were going out or something. So I walk into my house and can tell right away that my father was out shopping, meaning that he went to the bar while out shopping. As soon as I walk in, he looks at me as if he wasn't expecting me. My mother was out, so he used the opportunity to bond a bit with me. "Wanna see something cool?" he asks. At first, I think he's joking, but he was serious. All I do is nod, and he runs upstairs and comes back with black bag. He then pulls out the January 2000 issue of Playboy, which had the cover done by Peter Maximum, one of his favorite artists. He opens the magazine and shows me a few pages. My mother then pulls up and he shoves the mag back in the bag. Don't tell your mother, he tells me, and then heads back upstairs. I saw my first pair of boobs that day. The dad says, "Don't tell your mother you liked and subbed for nothing in return."